Greetings, programmers. Busted Thumbs here. Welcome back to our Making Frogger in the Competition. This is our fourth episode, and we're working on moving our little frog up and down on the screen. We're going to have to excuse Fluffy Wishes for this one. It's a school night, and she decided it's better to get her homework done and get back off to bed than it is to keep going. But she trusts me on what we're doing here, and we're going to blaze on without her now. One other thing I did in between these two breaks is I put some WD-40 on my chair. So if you've been hearing those little squeaks going back and forth as I was talking, hopefully they've gone away now too, and they're not a distraction. I did realize I made one mistake in the last episode that we worked on. When we were trying to compute where y should be, it was the y position of where our frog started jumping from, plus a percentage of the row height up to the next row. And when I did that, to create that percentage, I divided the total numbers of ticks that it took to jump by the amount of ticks that we've actually had jumping. And if you think about that, that's the math is backwards if we're trying to make a percentage there. Because that's saying, hey, if it's 10 and we've gone 1, then I'm actually multiplying by 10 when I really want to be multiplying by 1/10. So we simply need to move these guys back and forth like that, and you'll see that the effect of this, instead of it jumping quickly to the top of the screen, if I hit play here and then I press the up button, is he'll start moving at about the speed that we thought he should. And he does that until he gets to the top, and that's when Scratch doesn't let him go any further off the screen than that. So we've got him working. He's jumping about the speed we want him to. If I hit play, he goes back to where I want him to be. Now we need to start figuring out when we need to stop jumping. And really we should do that down here in our handle the frog tick. After we've positioned him where we want him to be, we should probably start checking for whether the jump is complete. So let's go ahead and just call it that. Check for jump completion. And that's a block we can add right here after we position the frog. And let's do the necessary scripting that will make that happen. So what we're going to do, if he's not jumping, then we don't need to worry about it. So it's only if he's jumping that we need to do something. So we might as well just check for that right away. We only need to do work if it's not the case that our jump direction is none. So let's go grab our jump direction. And if we do this, then none of the code under here is going to execute at all. But if it is executing, then we need to figure out whether we're beyond where we need to be. So we need to start doing a little math again. And you'll notice we do a lot of arithmetic when we do coding, and that's just the way it is sometimes, especially when you're moving things around on a screen. So if our ticks, now we know what the ticks are, the amount of time it's supposed to take to jump. If we get above that, then we need to do something. So if the total ticks to jump right here, if our total ticks, which is our current tick count minus so our actual tick minus the tick where we started jumping, jump start tick, if that's gone beyond the amount of ticks that it takes to jump, then we're done jumping. And we shouldn't be jumping anymore. If that's the case, then we need to start handling the various positions and what we should do about it. So if our jump direction happens to be up, which is what we're working on right now, if our jump direction is equal to up, then what we should simply be doing at that point is changing the row that we've gone to. We can change our current row by -1. We went up, and up happens to be in the negative direction. So we set the jump direction to the current row to -1, and the next time we come around for a tick, it's going to put it in the right spot. If that's the case, when we're all done, we're going to want to set our jump direction once we've set all these up to none. So now when he's going to come through, he's going to check for the jump completion after he's positioned himself. He's going to find out if the tick has gone further than the ticks to jump need to be. Then his row is going to be updated and the jump correction is going to be set to none. So the next time it comes around, he should come into this if condition here when he's positioning himself on the screen and simply set himself to the X and Y for the current column and row. So let's see how that works on our program. And I hit the up button. Oops, let's hit play. I press the up button and he just jumps one row that time. He didn't keep going. We press it again, he goes up another one and up another one, just like that. So perfect. That's what we wanted to have happen. Let's start thinking about the other directions though, because we do have to handle those cases as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and put that guy down under here because these are going to start taking up a little bit more room. One of the things we're going to have to do is repeat this 4 times. We don't need to set that jump condition twice, but we're going to have to set this 4 times. So I'm going to need 4 of them. Whoops. Underneath there. And then set that jump condition direction to none. So with the 4 cases we need to handle are down, up, left, and right. And for this we need to change the, instead of by 1, we need to change the row by 1, not -1. And in the case of going left and right, we're actually not working with the current row, but with the current column. If we go left, it's -1. And if we do the current column to the right, then we're changing it by 1. So in all those cases, we've said, hey, this is what happens when we're done jumping. One of the things I do also want to do when we're done jumping is to set the jump jump start tick to -1. We said that's what the case was when it was done. And let's do a couple other things, such as making sure that the costume is always going to be him sitting still, which is him sitting still, and we're going to make sure that this direction is back to the default. Because later on we're going to start changing those things when he starts jumping. Okay, so that's checking for the jump completion. But we're going to find out one thing that isn't so good about this is that you'll notice when we play this guy and I start clicking up and 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 up, he'll keep going. Scratches stops a sprite from going completely off the screen, so that's why we still see him a little bit at the top. But we never checked when we were saying that it was time to start jumping that he really could jump. So for instance, I told you we weren't going to get into these too much more, but we do need a little bit more. When we're deciding that the up arrow is pressed and we need to do something about it, actually 2 conditions really should be taking place. It's not just whether the jumping direction is none, but another thing that we need to keep track of is whether or not he's at the top. So if he is at the top, and I'm going to do this a little bit differently this time to show you another way that you can do this. So if the current row, or yes, the current row, is equal to 0, then he's at the top and he shouldn't go up. If that's the case, what we can do is go ahead and stop this script. And so these 2 things will never happen. Now I could have done the same thing with the jump direction and changing that around so that these aren't inside an if, but you know, both ways work equally well. Let's do the same thing for the others. So in the down case, the condition that we don't want to go down any further is if the row is equal to the current row is equal to the total number of rows, which is the row count. Oh, and it's more complicated than that, isn't it? Because it's It's our little math equation that we used before. It's this guy right here. So that is the last row. That's the one we figured out before. So if this is the case, I'll scroll that in so you can see it. If we're at the bottom row, essentially, don't stop this script. Don't let us go down. Oh, darn. That's the down. I did that backwards. That's 0. And for the down case, let's go ahead and stop this script. So that's up and down. Let's do left and right. You'll see that those are very similar. So when the left arrow is case, it's very similar to this one. Go ahead and bring those in, and they, of course, they make it. Sorry, it just kind of snapped itself in where I didn't want it to. We want it instead to be there, and we don't want this. And this time we're just dealing with the current column. So if we're in the leftmost column, we don't want to do that script. We don't want to be heading to the left. And in this case, if we're in the rightmost column, and this time I can use this, the rightmost column happens to be the column count minus 1. So we're back to these things not being very interesting anymore. I think if we go ahead and make this bigger and press play, and I start pressing the up arrow, he'll keep going up, and he'll stop where we want him to, which is about the place where our top margin was. So I'm still pressing the up arrow button, and I'm getting nothing, which is exactly what we wanted. All right, so good. Now we've got up movement done. How about left to right? We should get that done. And that will mean that we need to do more interesting things in terms of the positioning the frog on the screen. All right, so if the jump direction is left, we need to do a little bit different work. So let's go ahead and we will duplicate this guy. And we'll now say, well, let's do down, because down is the most similar to up. I'll just get that out of the way. The only difference here now is we have to change this. Instead of going down, up, we need to go down. So it's not a plus anymore, it's a minus. So we take our jump start Y, and we subtract that amount. So that's down. For left and right, it is a little bit different, but we can go ahead and start with this. Just keep him out of the way. In this case, what we want to be changing is the X position and not the Y position. And when we're going left, we are in fact subtracting. So we're going to start with X, the X position. Going to the left, we're going to subtract out the column width in this case. Multiplied by that tick percentage. Duplicate that. Pop him on under there and do this for right. And now instead of to the left, we need to go to the right. So what we need is a plus instead of a minus. So I'll get rid of that minus and go ahead and bring a plus in. Put the jump start X back in and our column width percentage. Now let's see how that changes things. We get started. I'm going to press up, 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 down, 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 right. So he moved to the right, but he jumped back to his old position. So we've got to fix that. And when I press left, it's going up. So we got some problems with left and right, but up and down is working correctly. Let's go ahead and get back to our code to fix those little problems. So when I pressed right, it was setting it to right. When I pressed left, oh, see, left is setting to up, and that's wrong. So we want to change that to left. That was our first problem. And then our other problem is when I was pressing right, it was changing the row when it should be changing the column. Let's try that again. Make him a little bigger so you can see. Up, up, left, right, right, left, up, down. And he should stop at the end of the screen to the right. See, he's not going, I'm pressing the right key and he's not going any further. I press the left key and he's not going up. He stops there too. So there we have it. We have the frog moving around. He's following our game loop. You can see I don't have that purple band positioned correctly, but we've made some good progress, I think, here. And you also notice I'm pressing these keys now and it's not doing anything, and the problem is my time hit 0, and this is great because that means that the game loop exited, and so I couldn't do anything anymore. So even though I was getting those events, nothing was happening. So I had 30 seconds to move around. I moved up, down, left, and right. We had a bunch of those as requirements for our program, and we got them done. So I think we can sign off here saying we've made some great progress for this particular script in moving the frog around, and in the next one we'll get to animating him as he moves. All right, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.